It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
Well, actually, today you just get Coach Groves and Matt Davis because Ian Griffin is enjoying a little bit of away time at the beach and well-earned, well-deserved. I talked to him today for a couple of minutes, and they're having a great time. So, and he may be tuned in right now, so he may be with us at least as a viewer today. But first and foremost, this is the Coach Groves Show. It's hard to believe it. We're getting ready for the Week 8 game. Yep. 3 more games this season. And, Coach, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Back to talk a little Darlington Tigers football.
Absolutely, man. I know it's been a busy week for you as you get prepared for your next opponent, which is going to be the Model Blue Devils. We're going to talk about that in detail later on in the show. But we'll go ahead and dive in our first segment, Coach, and talk about last Friday's game. Tough road game. You guys faced the number 3 state-ranked Heard County Braves. And everything we heard about that team was true. They're a very good football team. But despite the loss, you guys had some positive things happen at different points of the game. Your guys kept fighting from start to finish of the ball game, had a good second half. So what were the things that you felt like the Tigers did well in the game last week, Coach?
Well, our kids still play hard, and they fought to the very end. I challenged them at halftime to come back out and keep competing, and we held them scoreless in the second half. I thought we did some really good things. We played good on first and second down. We played their screen game really well, which we're really worried about, and we fit some of that stuff really well. We fit the run game very well at times, but other times it was very inconsistent. We ran the football on them. We had over 225 yards rushing on them. So there was some bright spots in there to build off of and just keep moving forward and try to keep improving this football team.
Absolutely. And, Coach, last week, the Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game, well, that was Miles Twyman. And, of course, Miles in the game scored a couple of touchdowns. His first touchdown was on big play, 68-yard play that tied the game with a little over 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. And everybody that's followed Darlington football knows that, Miles has been battling an injury since game 1 and just a tough kid. And it's great to see him get some big plays in the game. So what can you tell us about his performance on Friday? And not only that, Coach, what kind of leader and teammate he is and a little bit about his toughness?
Yeah, well, if you followed our program close, he's battled not just one, but a couple of different injuries this year, and some that have been nagging and just lingered on. But Miles will be the first one to tell you if he was here, he would thank our trainer, Donnie Brown and Aaron Kennedy. He would thank our swim coach, Andrea Frazier, because all those played a part every day into getting him back, getting him well, getting him rehabbed. And, through the whole thing, Miles, the best attitude you possibly can have. He's trying to motivate his teammates when he wasn't on the field. He's being a leader in the weight room, on the field. So to have him come back and through all that and then have some success and being able to score and score on a big rocket toss touchdown, I think there's a lot of folks smiling in the stands. I think his parents are very proud of him, to battle back and get back on the field. And then, of course, the coaches and his teammates are glad to have him back out there, playing and contributing in that kind of fashion, actually, scoring points and scoring touchdowns. So, Miles is a great kid. He's been a great leader for us. He does everything right. So definitely a bright spot for him to be able to rehab and come back.
And, Coach, you talk about everything that he's gone through just to get back out on the field and the attitude that he's had throughout. I can only imagine the dividends that kind of thing pays, with the influence that he has on other guys when they watch what he did to get back and kind of motivate other people too.
Yeah, it's part of being a leader, and sometimes they got to lead off the field when they can't contribute on the field when you get in those situations. But he did everything like he was supposed to do, and we're glad to have him back this week too.
Absolutely. And, Coach, of course, one of the things we like to talk about in this segment, we talked about some of the bright spots. We talked about the Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game and Miles Twyman a little bit. But let's talk about some of the things that you and your coaching staff identified when you were watching the film of the game and things that are areas to focus on during practice this week to continue to try to get better and ready for your next opponent.
Yeah. Well, it's been frustrating at times just because we had a revolving door of different players in the game. Can't really get any consistency with injuries. And then, a couple other things. But, the main thing that I'm, concerned with, and my message to the team is we have to have more consistency in performance. And what I mean by that is, when you look at the Heard County game, let's say they ran counters 6 different times, and they did counter gut, guard tackle, pull, they block down, they kick, play side defensive end, they wrap for the backside linebacker. We rep that play all the time. We rep that play starting in summer. We rep counter gut. First time they run it, our defensive end runs upfield, they kick him out, they wrap, and they get the backer and they get a big play. The second and third time they run it, we squeeze, we wrong arm it, we bounce it to the backer, we fit, we hit it for a loss. Third time, we hit it for a loss. Fourth and fifth time, sixth time, we play it wrong again. Screens early in the game, very first play, they throw one of those 4 screens out there to the back. We space jam it, we shock and shed, we fit it, we get great pursuit, and we eat it up for a loss. 2 more times, we play it well. Fourth and fifth time in the game, they get it. Sprint outs the same way. Sprint outs, we get sprint out, we cover it later on in the game. The first 2 times they run sprint out, we don't get good drops into the flat, and we let them throw it over the top of our head. So it's those little things where, Heard County is a really good football team. We look at the film, though, some of it is our, just inconsistency in performance. It is what it is, Rocket toss to Miles. We fit it up perfect. We block it like you're supposed to, and it goes 68 yards. We try it a couple of series later. We let the free safety run right by us, and we don't even touch him. So those are the things I talk about to the kids. There's a lot more points out there to be had. There's a lot more first downs to be had. There's a lot more stops if we play more consistent on the field.
Well, Coach, that kind of leads to a follow-up question. You guys are heading into the final few weeks of the regular season, obviously putting in the work to try to finish the season strong. One of the things you referenced there in our first part of the segment was talking about how the kids really fought there in that second half and kept playing. So what's been your main message to the team as you guys prepare for the final stretch? I know you're focused on Model specifically, but obviously, you'd love to perform strong these last few games. So what is the message that you're really hammering home to have a strong finish?
Well, just to have everybody focused and locked in on every single snap and take that as each individual play like you should, making the call, getting the call, and then executing the call. And then communicating the whole thing. We double call some offensive plays where the kids have to come up to the line and, all right, if this play's not good, we check it to this play. And so that's a lot on them, but it gets us in our best situation to be successful. So that communication. We have our base coverage, but if they line up in certain formations or certain things, we have to adjust. We have not done a great job of that. We have to do better, more communicating. I tell the kids all the time, they talk all day, but then I get them out on the field and then they close their mouths and they shut up. This is the time you should talk more than anything. I don't care if everybody in the stands knows what we're playing. I don't care if the other teams know what we're playing. As long as we're playing the same coverage and we're on the same page, we're going to be successful. And so those are the things that we're trying to hammer home, just those communication things, identifying and the adjustments that need to be made and getting it done quick and executing it now.
Well, Coach, as far as like the tone at practice this week, how's practice gone, and what has the energy been like for you guys?
It's been good. We've had 3 good practices so far. When you have these games, you don't have to get them too motivated or anything like that. They understand that it's a crosstown rival and the implications as far as playoffs and things like that, and just of course bragging rights too. But the tempo of practice has been really good, and I've been pleased with that.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to our first break. But this is the Coach Groves. It is week 8 of the season as far as games are concerned. Of course, this game and then 2 more, and that'll wrap the regular season. But we're going to take a break. We'll get you ready for our second segment, and I'll kind of preview that a little bit. We're going to talk black shirts as we start off the second segment. Also, we've kind of had a middle portion of that segment where we just talked about coaching in general, kind of learn more about that. I always find that really interesting. And then we've got the Getting to Know Coaches question of the week. And I'll just go ahead and let you know we're going to be talking about desserts today. That's a topic that everybody seems to have a contribution for. So we're going to do that and coming up in a few minutes. But we're glad you're with us. And then, of course, our last segment, we're going to spend our whole conversation there talking about the opponent, the Model Blue Devils, this week. Super excited about it. We'll be right back.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
All right, folks, we welcome you back. I forgot to play the bumper. That's why it felt a little weird there for a second. But anyway, we're back with Coach Groves, and we're glad to have you with us on this episode. We'll start our second segment by talking about the Black Shirt Award. So which guys earned the honors this week to wear the black shirts?
On offense, we always try to give it to a guy that doesn't get his name in the newspaper, that's kind of grinding it out behind the scenes. But this kid did a very good job blocking, and then he ended up catching some balls and making some plays in the passing game too. But Trey Moore, our junior wide receiver, number 17, cornerback, he gets the offensive black shirt last week. On defense, our steady Eddie on the defensive line, he's in there grinding it out. He's taking double teams, and he's knocking them back, and he's making plays up there on the defensive line. So Bryson Jones, number 55, senior defensive lineman, one of our captains, he's the defensive black shirt. On special teams, he busted through the starting lineup once we got him eligible, and then he ended up blocking an extra point. And came through there really hard and basically knocked a couple of kids down and got his hand up and blocked the extra point. So Maddox Rawton gets the special teams black shirt. On simulation offense, he just keeps getting better and better, and he's going to get more playing time and get more playing time this week. But he kept making plays on simulation offense, and we're finally like, well, we got to get this kid in the ball game. So Mitchell Rawton, Maddox's brother, got a black shirt again on simulation offense, so he gets the black shirt for that. And then on defense, I got a young linebacker, tight end that had battled some injuries early in the season himself. Has worked himself back, and he's been a key contributor in this aspect. But simulation defense, Hayden Keith, freshman linebacker and defensive linebacker and tight end, gets the black shirt.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations to those young men, and glad to see those kids really working hard, and some new names that are popping up there from week to week and things of that nature. So, the last couple of weeks we spent some time during the second segment talking about different aspects of coaching that we thought would be kind of interesting for people to learn about. Like myself, that never been in the coaching world and that kind of thing, but obviously you have a great group of assistant coaches, and there's probably kind of a science and an art to kind of putting that together. But what are the key aspects of putting together your staff? What are the things that you're looking for in kind of the process of doing that?
Yeah. Well, with Darlington being single A, there's not a ton of teaching and coaching positions in the school. So one thing we have to do is really work hard with our administration, and when we need a football coach, try to coordinate it with them where they're coaching multiple things and they're contributing in a lot of different areas on campus to be able to get a football coach. So this year is the first year that we've had a full coaching staff in which every position has a position coach. And so when we look to hire guys, the first thing I'm going to look for is one, a good man first. A good man, they're great teachers and they care about kids, number one. Second, I look for coaches that can develop positive relationships with players and develop positive relationships, obviously, with teenagers. The third, he's got to have a little bit of football knowledge. Obviously, playing the game, definitely helps. But more than that, just a work ethic and a willing to learn and willing to put in the time and the effort to fill in the gaps of your knowledge that you don't know. So that, the knowledge of the game comes really, really low. And then you want to have a good balance of staff. You want to have some older guys that have been around, that are veterans, that have done it a long time, that can help teach and mentor some of the younger coaches. But you also want to have some young guys that, have a lot of energy, a lot of, piss and vinegar, if you will, that bring a lot of, positives in that aspect to the football team. So all those things you kind of look for, good men, good teachers, guys that can develop, positive relationship with kids, and then, just a thirst for knowledge and a thirst to keep learning. And so those are the things that I look for as a head coach to hire as a staff.
So kind of as a follow-up to that, what does that look like in terms of building the chemistry among the coaching staff? Because, obviously if you check all these different boxes and then you get people together, they have to work together and all those sorts of things. So what does that process look like in terms of getting everybody on the same page and and kind of working together as a staff.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got their own opinions and everybody's got their own philosophies on things. But the ultimate deal is, someone has to be the boss and make the decisions. So when arguments arise or we talk about philosophy and scheme and things like that, we always talk, we can fuss and we can throw chairs and we can, but when we leave out of that room, I'm gonna make the final decision, and we're all gonna be on the same page, and we're gonna move on. So sometimes coaching staff meetings can get, people have opinions. People have been coaching a long time. We should do this. We should do that. And then I got to be the kind of the voice of reason in all the middle of it to say, hey, this is what we actually need to do, and this is what we're gonna do, and make decisions and move forward.
And then not to mention being in a room full of, guys that are super competitive and all that sort of stuff. I would imagine that plays a role in it too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Most football coaches, they've got a little bit of ego to them, I would say, and so, but we're all in it for the same reasons. And again, that's why you get the right guys. You get the good men that understand that, hey, you might not always get your way, but we're going to do what's best in the long run for the team. And so as long as we're doing that, then we'll have a good result in those staff meetings.
Well, Coach, we're going to shift gears a little bit here for the final part of this segment. But, we have a morning show on WLAQ that I host with a different person every week, and we have different topics some days. And typically on Tuesdays, we have a different topic that's just kind of a general thing that people contribute to, comment, things of that nature. And, last week we brought up one of those topics, and this week I'm going to bring up another one from a Tuesday edition of Later This Morning in Rome. But we've been taking phone calls and comments on our Facebook Live about people's favorite desserts this week. And it's been interesting to see kind of the different variety of opinions and things of that sort related to that. So I'm curious about, what are the favorite desserts of the Groves household? Inquiring minds want to know.
Okay. Well, I'm not a huge dessert guy, but I'm never going to turn down a good vanilla milkshake, if I can get my hands on one of those. Before bed at night after we eat dinner, me and Grayson usually have we're probably lame. It's probably lame, but, we'll drink a glass of Fairlife chocolate milk.
Okay.
We like Fairlife chocolate milk at our house. And then every now and then my wife makes brownies, and I don't know what she puts in them, but she makes some of the best brownies. And so she makes those. Those don't last long around the house. And, she'll make some angel food cake, some strawberries and things like that in there that's pretty good too. So we try to keep dessert a little light around our house, but those are our go-tos, milkshakes and chocolate milk. And, she makes the brownies and angel food cake.
I think that's interesting because I'm kind of a simple person when it comes, to desserts as well. So you mentioned the vanilla milkshake, and there's kind of debate. My wife kind of feels like vanilla is a base flavor, but I think it's a legit full-on flavor. It's like one of my favorite things, and she'll laugh at me when we go to the ice cream shop and I get a vanilla milkshake. She's like, "You're going to get a vanilla milkshake and you got all this stuff here?" I'm like, it's fantastic. Simple can be good.
Right. That's right.
So I go in that direction. I also like a good bread pudding. That's fantastic to me. Key lime pie, those sorts of things will be my favorite. Boston cream pie, especially if you're up in Boston. There's a place that's called Mike's Pastry. And if you talk to the locals about it up there, they'll probably tell you to go somewhere else because it's kind of become a tourist destination over the years. And if you go there, there's big lines of people trying to get in there and get it. But it really is good. So anyway, if you're ever in Boston, make sure to get you a cannoli or a Boston cream pie at Mike's.
What were did you have some crazy desserts or anything off the wall that people have been commenting and calling in on?
Not a whole lot. We've had a lot of banana pudding and stuff like that. We've had a lot of people with different ice cream flavors that they like. And it seems like people really like Bluebell in particular. So that one's come up a lot during the conversation.
More than Mayfield, huh?
Yeah, definitely. But the biggest thing is most people, when they bring up a dessert, it has some connection to like family or something like that. Yeah. Something that their grandmother made or something.
Well, if I didn't mention this on the show, my great grandmother's sister, so my great aunt, Doris Yother, she made a famous salad dessert. And I couldn't tell you what's all in. I know it's got pineapple. I know it's got whipped cream. I know it's other things, but it is famous at our family get-togethers. the famous Doris salad, and everybody always wants to know who's going to make the Doris salad. And Jess is laughing right now if she's watching this because she's a huge Doris salad fan. So
it sounds like whoever's got to make it, that's kind of a pressureful situation.
It is. It's usually my aunt Cheryl. My aunt Cheryl, she's dialed in the Doris salad recipe, and so she doesn't let the family down without. We have the Doris salad at Thanksgiving and Christmas. So.
Well, we do have a comment here on our Facebook Live feed, and Kelly Fountain chimed in. He said, Matt, Bowberry biscuits from Armurchie Bojangles. I live out in Armurchie now, so I'm going to all of a sudden have a craving for some Bowberry biscuits from Bojangles.
A warm Bowberry biscuit's pretty good with a cup of coffee for sure.
Exactly. And yet again, another dessert that's kind of simple. One more I'll point out because it's a timely one for this time of year, but my mom went up to Ella J in like Apple Country, whatever you call it, Miss Sayers, however you say that, I don't know. But she brought back some apple cider donuts, and those things are outstanding.
Interesting.
And I have to admit, like I got a sweet tooth. It's a problem. It's a problem. Well, that's going to wrap up our getting to know Coach Groves question of the week. We're going to take a break. We're going to shift back into some football topics. Really, one main topic. We're going to talk about the matchup against the Model Blue Devils coming up on Friday night. So that's when we come back. We're hanging out with Coach Groves, and we'll be back to finish up after these messages.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
And we welcome you back here to the Coach Grove Show. I'm Matt Davis, your host today. Ian Griffin of V3 will be back with us coming up next week. And we're going to dive into the opponent coach, and we're going to talk about the Model Blue Devils. Of course, you guys are hitting the road. Not a long road trip this week, just headed out to the Shannon area. And then, of course, your last two games are going to be at home this year for the regular season, but headed to Woodard Tuggle Stadium to face the Model Blue Devils. So first, tell us a little bit about the strengths of this squad. What really stands out when you've been looking at film this week?
Well, they've got a lot of numbers. They've got over 80 kids out there, if I'm not mistaken. But they have some big old linemen, and they have some athletic skill guys that can give you some problems. Jeff is known for his 3-4 kind of quarters defense, and then Brent Bell, the offensive coordinator, worked with us at Rome, so he kind of took that Rome offense and there's a ton of 10 personnel, 20 personnel. There's even some 21 personnel in there, and he does a good job of running power, counter, power read, inside zone, and they do a great job of screen game. And then he's always going to have his trick plays in there that you got to prepare for: the double reverse passes, the flea flickers, the quarterback throwback, what they call the gypsy play. He's going to have all that, and so you got to be prepared for that. And as long as you have your correct eye discipline with your DBs, none of that should be an issue. So, they're good enough to beat you. They make you spread the field, and they're very solid and fundamental on defense. So, it's not just an easy ball game. And then, of course, you got the crosstown rival aspect of it too. So, you get in those games, anything can happen. So you got to keep your composure. You got to stay focused and understand that it's a 4-quarter game, and they're going to make some good plays. We're going to make some good plays, but the most important one's always that next one, like we talk about. So this is one of those games where that's definitely going to be in play.
Absolutely, Coach. And of course, you referenced Jeff Honeycutt being the head football coach over there at Model. And, of course, both of you guys grew up in Lindale, know each other well. You played for his dad at Pepperell. Y'all would have been teammates at least for a year,
yes.
Right? Because I know you're a little bit younger than he is, but y'all know each other well. So what's it like, for you personally when you go up and you coach against somebody that's you're friends with like that?
Well, it's one of those deals where, you never look forward to doing that. I want Jeff to go and win every one of his games except for one, and I'm sure he feels the same way about me. But our kids will be ready. Both teams will play hard, and it'll be a really good ball game, really good contest. I told the kids I've never been to a Model football game. This is the first time I get to go to Model and watch a football game because we never played them when I was in high school. They were in a different classification than us, and then I moved away for 15 years, and just never been to a model football game.
Wow,
So,
I did not
at
realize that.
model. Now we scouted them, a couple of times, but they've been at other places. But yeah, never been to Woodard Tuggle Stadium.
Very interesting. I never would have guessed that out of all those years. Well, let's talk about some of their key guys for this season. Obviously, you mentioned they got some playmakers. So, who are some of the guys that really stand out for them?
Well, the quarterback, number 12, C.J. Walker, he's a good player. And they have a wide receiver, DB, number 2, Rance Cunningham. And they get in the ball in space, and he can make some plays. And he has made some plays this year. Running back, linebacker, number 11, Ridge Hardiker. He's a good ball player. I think he's been a 3-year starter for them, but he's a real hard-nosed throwback type kid. They have a linebacker, kid number 7. They play him at linebacker. They play him at tight end. They play him at running back some. Tyler Harrell. He's a big kid. He looks about 6'4", maybe about 225 pounds. But he stands out on film. And then a couple of linemen, 58, Jacob Johnson, and number 62, Tristan Coover, I believe is his last name. And they're both pretty good ball players.
Awesome, man. Well, we've kind of already covered a little bit what the vibe's going to be like for this particular game. Obviously, you've got, crosstown teams playing each other. And obviously from the fan perspective, which I consider myself in that category without a doubt, you get excited, when Darlington's playing up against the local schools. I wish you guys could play all the local schools every year. These are definitely, we get excited about every matchup, but definitely when they play the local schools, there's a little bit extra for that. So super excited about it. But what would you say are the keys to picking up a road victory against this model team coming up on Friday?
Well, like I alluded to earlier, we have got to be more consistent in performance. No bust, no missed assignments, okay? Taking care of the football. It's the number one determining factor in winning or losing football games is turnover margin, and we've got to take care of the football, and we cannot turn it over. And then again, we got to have great communication pre-snap, identifying fronts, coverages, formations, so that we can execute our calls and make our adjustments at a very high level. So those things right there. Be more consistent in performance, no mental bust, take care of the football, and then great communication and get us in the right play.
Well, Coach, one last question. You already know what it is. Anybody that's been watching this show for the last couple of years, they know what's coming here. Ian typically asks this at the end of the show, but he's always interested to know, how are the Darlington Tigers suiting up? What's the uniform combination this week?
We're going to go over to model for my first time going to model, and we're going to wear the Stormtrooper look, the white on white, and see if we can get us a region win on the road.
Heck yeah, man. That sounds good. And as we get kind of ready to wind down, obviously it's a short road trip this week. Everybody needs to be there for this game. So let's get the fans out there, man.
That's right. And nothing like being there on Friday night. There's nothing like seeing it live and seeing it in person. And this will be a good ball game. It'll be good for the fans. It'll be a physical, tough game. And then it'll be a pretty electric atmosphere, I'd imagine.
I think so, man. I think it's going to be a special night, a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you and talk Darlington Tigers football. I appreciate you coming out.
Shoot, yeah. Thank you. Go
All
Tigers.
Right. Go Tigers. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Coach Grove Show. We appreciate everybody listening and watching, and we'll wind it down and hope to see you at Woodard Tuggle Stadium at Model High School as the Tigers get ready for their next matchup, Game 8 of the regular season. All right. Well, that puts a wrap on it. Hope you have a great evening, everybody. So long.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Coach Groves Show. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss all things Darlington football with head coach Wayne Groves. Go Tigers!